Welcome to MOOC course on Public Policy and Introduction. Today we will be discussing about rights-based development, policy and performance. You must have seen that development is generally regarded as a right. However, nation states, especially in democracies, have to contend with the problem of conferring rights which are difficult sometimes to achieve, and these rights are regarded as necessary for they are linked to right to life. Like for instance, if you don't have right to work and right to employment, then to that extent your right to life gets affected. Such definitions are not new anymore now, especially after discourse in development underwent change there. You must have seen what is a public policy, how important this subject is in the emerging field of knowledge there. So as we have seen earlier, it's a sort of a plan of action to be pursued by governments there. Now, more general definition is also given by policy experts, like whatever the governments prefer to do or interested to do or not interested to do is defined as public policy. So the laws and regulations created by government bodies in order to address the issues of public good is also seen as public policy as a major definition there. These issues can be economic, social, political in nature and exist on local, national or international levels there. For instance, entire body of knowledge relating to rights-based development we can also see from the framers of Indian Constitution in the late 40s and early 50s too, and subsequently after 30 years the United Nations also came out with explanations and approaches regarding rights-based approach to development there. So policy is what generally means it contains broad outline as well as also detailed roadmap of formulation as well as implementation of all government programs. It generally contains objects and reasons and timelines for a review. The focus of public policies is the general public welfare of the people is supposed to be the paramount consideration for public policy studies, or public policy formulation and implementation. And policies are implemented through several constitutional authorities, for instance, government organizations, bureaucracy, and also especially after 80s in collaboration with civil society organizations, which is an expanded version of governance, which does not mean only government but also civil society and what they say market. Next, we will be right now seeing, we have already seen earlier little discussion took place on regulatory, distributive and redistributive policies. When classifying public policies, we noted that regulatory, distributive and redistributive are categories under which we discussed policies as such there. These types of public policies are classified based on issues and what they are getting controlled with. An overarching trend that can be observed here is the emergence of rights-based approach to development there. In addition to regulatory, distributive, redistributive, what we are bringing to your notice, please note that rights-based approach is also a way of looking at how we can secure rights of people, and this can be possibly dovetailed into policy framework there. So we will be, in this context, the rights-based approach to development is one many approaches to development which focuses on empowering citizens through entitlements there. What so far we regarded as a policy which is expected to take care of the welfare of the people there, sometimes the mechanisms are not marked with such kind of approaches whereby all are covered there. So automatically entitlements are not going there. Therefore, suppose you make it a justiciable right, suppose you don't find employment, you can seek help of courts of law for invoking your right there, for ensuring your right. So if it is rights based approach there, then the citizens are empowered to seek justice from the judiciary, from agencies which can give them justice there. The era of 90s, the 1990s marked the emergence of many reforms, introduction of, particularly in India, the structural adjustment program, the liberalization, privatization, globalization policies that we have adopted for making a shift in the approach to development. Finding its origins in this era is what is called new rights politics, or the rights based approaches which continue to transform the spheres of politics, public administration and governance. These three are vitally affected there, and the rights based approaches is largely promoted by the national, international agencies and non-governmental organizations there. According to the United Nations Declaration on the Right to Development, adopted on December 4th, 1986, it articulates thus: the right to development is an inalienable human right by virtue of which every human being, every human person and all people are entitled to participate in, contribute to and enjoy economic, social, cultural and political development, in which all human rights, fundamental freedoms can be fully realized. So if that is the international scenario through the United Nations, when applied to the Indian context, how it looks like. We must tell you that, in the initial part of this presentation, that part 4 of the Indian Constitution already focused on directive principles of state policy, in the sense that much of the sense of rights-based development we can see in what the Constitution of India, through its directive principles of state policy, which are regarded as fundamental or sine qua non in this governance of this country, and it shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles in making laws. So the lawmakers or policy makers are expected to keep in mind what is called how essential it is for the governance to ensure that, say, directive principles are almost are observed in every policy, for keeping in view the welfare of the people as such there, in the broadest sense of the term there. These directive principles have been described as the forerunners of the UN Convention on Right to Development there. So rights-based approaches in the form of public policies or legislations have been getting significant attention of various stakeholders in India too. So if the rights-based development is accepted by Indian policy machinery as a way of ensuring justice to large number of people there, or correcting the implementation machinery, or empowering individuals through this, then let us get an idea as to what are the nearest policies to this. For instance, in 2005, the right to information, and the right to work subsequently, which is popularly known as through a program called Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act in 2005 again. This was followed by Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Act 2006, to know the Forest Rights Act, which provided forest rights to the tribal inhabitants. Again, when you come to 2009, rights of children to free and compulsory education was introduced, which marked the beginning of the right to education. And going a step further, many of the Indian states also introduced Right to Public Service Guarantee Act starting in 2010. And most importantly, the path-breaking right-based legislation in our country is the National Food Security Act 2013, which was introduced to protect people's right to food. Then, so far we have seen how the rights-based development evolved over a period of time. We also noted in this part of the lecture, so that directive principles of state policy preceded the UN's rights-based development there. You need to see that the UN's articulations on development are broadly taken as policy guidelines to the nation states, following which Indian state too looked at different rights, which we have discussed a little while ago, and introduced in spheres, where it is articulated that it's most important. For instance, education, work, or regard, and also children's right to go to schools. These were marked as important enough there, followed by the right to public service as such there.